Hello, welcome, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is that you are tuning into the Tourism Hub podcast. This is a very, very special one with a very, very special guest. We are going beyond the borders of Australia today to welcome to the show for the first time to the Tourism Hub podcast, but also to her first experience of podcasting. It is with my pleasure to introduce you to an experience maker that exudes experience making, it's experience curating, it's experience, it's storytelling. And we are talking to Maria Tsakos from Magical Sunset Greek Island Sailing Experiences. Mariamu, welcome.
Thank you. And wow, that sounded just wonderful.
Oh, Maria, you had me at Magical Sunset, and I was like, I'm speaking to someone very special on the other side of the phone. I'll never forget it. A random act of reaching out, and here we are, this beautiful evolution that we're going on with Magical Sunset, and now having this conversation, which I've been really, really keen to do since we met. So I want us to go on the Maria journey as much as the Magical Sunset journey during this hour of power that we have to share where you have been pre-Magical Sunset, and then when, the moment when Magical Sunset came to be. So if you would indulge me and our wonderful listeners to where was Maria before Magical Sunset? Tell me about the journey. What did you want to do growing up? And
So when I was growing up, I wanted to become an astronaut. But
wow!
But I did study physics, and I did major in physics. So I've got a science background, and I've worked in corporate my whole life. I've had fantastic opportunities, and one of them was with my young family and my husband. We had relocated to Luxembourg with Goodyear tires. So I think that was the making of Magical Sunset. And what it really was is we had an opportunity to go back to Greece every summer, every Christmas, whatever we can get. And in the process, we made a lot of friends in Luxembourg, expats, Americans, English, family friends from the schools who used to say, we want to come to Greece, but we want to come with you. So we all had young children, and because I love storytelling and the truth is, which I didn't mention, is I was born in Greece and I came to Australia when I was very, very young with my parents, obviously. But there were a number of years which my parents took us back. We lived with my grandparents. I went to school in Greece. So it was my sister and I living with the grandparents. And that's when I was introduced to Greek mythology. So we didn't really have fancy toys, no Barbie dolls, none of that. Just our imagination and the surrounding of which we created and relived those stories. So when I had the opportunity and I took my young children to Greece and we had family and friends come and join us, the first thing I did is unravel all those stories in no matter which location I went to. So if it was going to be any island, and Greece has got so many stories, so many, amphitheatres, monuments, archaeological sites, but nobody really knows the stories behind them. And when you start understanding them and following like the trails, all of a sudden it becomes magical.
Magical. Now, how old were you when you came to Australia?
So the first time with my parents, I was just under a year old.
Okay,
and
so
then
preschool.
Yeah. So like most parents, they struggle to find daycare and having to look after the children. So my parents had decided that they were going to work a number of years in Australia and go back to Greece. So with that in mind, they took my sister and I, and we lived with my grandparents for nearly 4 years while they were here working. So when we came back because there was a war in 1974 and they'd taken my dad. So things were chaotic in Greece, so that we returned. By then I was 8. So, and that's a whole lot of
There you go. It's a very similar story, Maria. And I have a sister, and her sister's Maria, who you met last week. And it's interesting. It's a very similar story with a lot of Europeans who migrated here, come cash up and go back. But then there was also this loss of home too, right? Because and I have a similar journey. We came, we went, and we came back.
Wow.
And it's incredible. So the Goodyear experience, was that Goodyear? You were working with Goodyear or your husband?
I was.
You were working with Goodyear
so
and Turkey. That's
one
incredible.
of 2 women in the whole expat community that the husbands, the families relocated because of the women. You know, so it was interesting. It was fun. And of course I worked in a tire company, very male dominated. And I was asked to speak to the students, and this is during Career Week, and tell them different opportunities. So I told them about tire design, and of course I work with the racing team, and I had all these fathers and children who want to come orientation into my field and work, which was exciting. It was interesting.
Oh, look, and it speaks volumes of your resilience and your self-leadership. Like, that takes another level of bravery, like to make that decision and take your young children at the time, I would imagine, to go and live in Luxembourg as well. Like, that's something
and I'd never been there
Maria.
before I relocated. So I had no idea what it looked like.
Wow. So in those travels, I guess in that a lot of businesses and experience makers like you start their businesses because there is that, you know, they're passionate travelers first. They're passionate about experiencing new cultures and new things. Tell me about that. So you're experiencing, people want to travel with you, and I'm the same. I've never been on a sailing yacht, but I could, the first time, one day, manifestation in the nation. That's what, that's the other part of this. Anybody that wants to travel to Greece on a luxury sailing experience, magicalsunset.com. Take me there. What was it that was missing in your experiences that you said, I can do this on a whole other level in your ability to create what you've created with Magical Sunset? What was missing? What was the gap that you said, you know what? I've come from a science background. I've got experience in tire manufacturing, the world that you were in, like what you were doing.
I know. How did I go from that to that?
Completely shift because I'm so interested always in that moment of what you saw that was missing and the pull in you to go, I'm going to do this. That moment.
I can tell you the exact moment. And,
Amazing.
People say was there a moment? Did it happen progressively? I didn't do any research to understand there's a gap in the market. I wasn't that way inclined. So like I said, is back in 2000, from 1999 all the way we'd been traveling. There was a period when we came back and then went to high school, we stopped going to Greece. But when we reconvened, all those people were still there. Where are we going? What island? And they were happy for me to complete a full itinerary. It's like they completely trusted me to create the stories, to do the itineraries, to go and visit the locations. And they knew that my passion was Greek mythology, that I would somehow incorporate the storytelling. I didn't realize that I was a good storyteller. I didn't realize that I could combine things. What actually happened, it was like 20 years on, we're on the island, of course. The children now grown up. They're off traveling the world themselves. One of the families who are still in Luxembourg, and we're still very good friends, he was the CEO of DuPont. And we're there, and we're on the Asclepian Monument. And I'm talking about the story behind it, how Hippocrates founded medicine and how he used to have and do the Hippocratic Oath, which modern day medicine, there's a lot of doctors around the world who take that oath. And I said, there's got to be busloads of people reenacting the Hippocratic Oath here in this place. And I described what I could see and what they should have. And John, the CEO of DuPont, said to me, "Oh, Maria, I've been with you so many years. This is your calling. You have got to do this." And where we were is on top of the hill with all this lined with cypress trees either side. And it was like the heavens had opened up and spoke to me and said, "We're right behind you. You've got to do this." And that was it. I came home and my husband said, "Well, what are you waiting for?" And I didn't even realise that I could have a job, that I could follow my passion. That's how simple it was.
You know, Maria, Oprah called those aha moments. I call
Yes.
them Opa moments. That's your Opa.
It certainly was.
That's incredible. And then coming home, and that's been the joy and the wonder in just being around you, in just like I can see all it's like a tapestry of doors opening and seeing the full potential of this incredible experience that you are delivering. When you come to a magical sunset experience, now many people have been on a Greek island. It's a bucket list destination, as is this beautiful country of ours, and we have islands. Greek islands, though, and Greece, the history and the mythology component is I guess when we're looking at a unique selling proposition from a destination perspective, has a lot going for it. And it's become more and more prominent. I feel after the post-C word, post-pandemic, Greece has gone on another level with its tourism appeal. Now tell me about the mythology path with Magical Sunset. I just want to set the scene of what the difference is and how much is unexplored that I've gotten to learn and appreciate through knowing you. There are almost like the hero islands that everybody sees on the postcards. But then when you tell me something like, I go to places that you can only go to by boat, and you just make me
True. So from doing the land tours, so we used to do sailing with groups, but day trips or different things, and it was never enough. What I got out of it is that there was a whole lot on any given island in Greece, that there are elements you can't get to unless you have a boat and you have an understanding, a good skipper, and someone who knows the places to go to. There's many beaches. The coastline in Greece is huge. We've got 6,000 islands, and the best beaches and the best locations, even some of the old archaeological sites, you need a boat to get to them. So it was evident for me that we will do sailing tours. But so we operate out of 3 different marinas, not where the ships go to. It is private marinas with catamarans. So we do the Ionian, which is the Odysseus tour, which is Odysseus, I'm coming home, and it's pretty much the last chapter of Odysseus' return home. I can talk about that tour for hours. And then we've got the Saronic myth, which is, 30 minutes out of Athens city. And there's another marina that goes to the Aegean Islands, and we go closer to Athens. And that's why we realized that in order to explore the not so popular islands, which have got so much to see, and the beaches are phenomenal, and the stories and the archaeological sites and the games that we play. I forgot to mention, we have an archaeologist in our tours that he does reenactment of fighting with the Minotaur if we're going to do, the Aegean Dream, and just different elements that without you knowing, being on a boat, you're actually gently submersed into the mythology and you're feeling, I want to know more. And what happens next? And where do we go to now? And that is the element of both curiosity, eagerness, and adventure, but combining it with the modern element of, paradise and sun beach and jumping off your catamaran and having a great hostess who gives you phenomenal food and, cocktails when you're ready.
I employ everyone, not while you're driving and you're listening to this, but definitely you just need to visit Magical Sunset website and your eyes will feast on the turquoise waters of your surrounds. Tell me about Odysseus.
Okay.
Why this is so special and why this final chapter of coming home. Because I feel like this, and again, when you think about something and suddenly that's all you see, you have no idea. I never thought about, I never read about, I never saw, but now, again, there's, a lot of people that I come across and meet along the way. Then there's pre-Maria, post-Maria. It's just something that keeps coming up.
It is.
So I just thought, and it's just something that I keep meaning to mention, and what a perfect time to say, tell me about why that's special for you and why this story is so special.
So as a kid, when I say I studied, our playtime, our reading time was Greek mythology. So Homer wrote the Iliad, which is 10-year war in Troy, right? Odysseus he was in Troy fighting the war, reluctantly went, but now the Odyssey is about his return home, and it takes him 10 years to get home. From a story point of view, he is supposedly kidnapped by Calypso, he's mesmerized by her beauty and can't leave her for 7 years. He has to fight the Lotus Eaters and get his crew back on the ship. He fights the Cyclops and he goes through Poseidon, who's always there to attack him. The story actually has psychological elements of truth of any one of us that goes through life. And the sea is a metaphor for his state of mind. Remembering he's come back from war after 10 years. So he's not exactly at peace. But that's not what the tour is about. And it's not for anyone needing to know the stories behind it at all. What happens is when he finally gets home, and why it's important to me, my girlfriend is from Lefkada. And every year, come on, let's go to Lefkada. And I did. And she'd say to me this one particular time, she said, can you stay longer? And I said, you know what? I will. But if we stay longer, we are going to go to Ithaca, which is, I don't know, I can't remember now, about a 2-hour boat ride south, not very far. And she goes, why? I said, I have to go to Odysseus's home, his palace. She didn't know the story. We didn't know where we would be. I actually read through the story, unraveling where he could possibly be, where he could have possibly have landed. I found all the locations, and my husband was saying, I don't think they're interested. And I said, no, I'll tell them the story. And there were 6 of us, 3 couples. By the end of it, everyone was so keen to find out the palace, to find out where he sailed from. And there were so many things we discovered along the way. So I struggled then to understand, was this mythology or was this history? And to get to the side where we found everything, but what he experienced, we needed a boat. So that's how the Odyssey, Odysseus, came about. But we also, in the process, found Hades. There's a monument where you can go to the underworld where Odysseus went to speak to the spirits to guide him how to get home because he was lost. So the fact that these places existed, the fact that there is a river of soul, Sphinx, where when you die, the ferrymen come to collect you and to take you down that path and take you down to Hades, seemed to me a story that needed to be relived. So when I take now guests along that journey, they say, I didn't even know this place existed. We didn't know it existed. And it only makes sense through the experiences, through visiting the places, having a tour guide explain to you in a fun way, not that this was built, 600 BC, but storytelling and experiencing it, all of a sudden you're living it as if you understand Odysseus himself and the struggles he would have gone through.
Wow. And is it physical relics?
Yes.
There that you, so when you discovered this moment, you're on this quest and you see this.
Yeah. And I had no idea how big it was. I didn't realize. I had no idea. So there's a movie that's going to come out soon. It's called The Return. The Return.
The Return.
And it's of Odysseus.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's exactly the part of the tour that we play. He doesn't go to Hades, to the underworld, but he does relive all those elements and the stories that we have in our tour. And I call it a tour, but it's really your own personal adventure and how much you want to take out of it and how much of the myth you want to include in it. It's really up to you. We have games, questionnaires and activities that the kids or adults, and you find that the adults want to play more of it than the kids. And it's like a hunt, discovering the next clue and what happens next. And you can very well know the story, but it's still the fact that you're going to go to these locations, it no longer is a myth. It's,
And what is the difference, Maria? Mythology or history? When you said, what is the difference? I've never thought about that. When you just mentioned that before, I think this is extraordinary. And I could safely say, just again, looking at a lot of sailing experiences, post Maria meeting, and having you in my sphere, that there's nothing else that exists that makes this connection out there in terms of adventure and experiences and sailing.
I can certainly with confidence say there isn't, but from a service point of view, we do something extra. So there are many sailing companies that offer either a bareboat or a luxury yacht or a skippered yacht. The thing that it is a little bit that skippers like to go to places that's convenient for them to take the yacht, or that they have other skippers waiting because, the guests go off on the island, have their dinner out there, and they sort of catch up with their fellow skipper colleagues. We're not about that. We say we know the destinations you must visit, and you don't want to go somewhere thinking, how come I didn't go there and I didn't do that? And you won't know any better. You're going to be very much reliant that the skipper will take you to the best locations. We make sure you're aware of what's possible. So we will ask you questions to understand what really experiences you want to have beyond what we offer, like the mythical elements and the tour guides and reenactment of certain games. So we do that. We choose the restaurants, the food menu on the yacht. We make sure that we purchase the food for you, and by the time you come on board, everything's stacked away, your cocktail's waiting, you've got your refreshments, you're even brought right on the pier, right on the yacht, and our crew will take your luggage and you would think this is normal, but it's not. If you're hurrying it and doing things on your own, you'd have to carry your your groceries in there, unpack everything. You'd have to carry your suitcases. This is a very different experience. And we have our ground staff that's available 24/7. So whatever changes you want to make to the itinerary or you want to add activities, we're there to do it. So nothing is fixed. It's as flexible as you are.
Oh, I love that. And that's something, again, if anybody's been to Greece or any other popular destination that involves ferries, boats, cruises, and what I've appreciated when you're saying half an hour from Athens is it's chaotic, especially over peak season. But yeah, again, you've taught me that this whole other world that exists, and that's not the case when joining an experience with you. So set the scene for anyone that's been or hasn't been. It is. There are boats coming and going everywhere and big, because they're on a schedule. You know, they're ferrying people to and from islands. Just set the scene of that difference on where you're sailing.
So if you want to go a private charter, like we offer, there are smaller marinas and there are lots of yachts around. They operate from Saturday to Saturday. A little bit the way I describe it for people who've gone skiing, they know ski lodges is from Saturday to Saturday. Yachts, weekly sailing is from Saturday to Saturday as well. That's international, I guess. Everybody knows it. So the yachts come into base back Friday night. You check out Saturday morning. And so the cleaners, they refuel, they do everything, and it is mayhem. So the first time I experienced it, I thought, it reminded me of a very busy bus terminal, buses going everywhere and people everywhere and people stepping over anchors, chains, hooks. And I just thought, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way for me to sail and have that luxury. So what we do is we choose, and our suppliers is they're a little bit off in a more private. We bring in the luxury van that picks them up and drops them off so they feel special. There is a VIP experience. They don't experience the mayhem, or if they do see any of it, they're not part of it. So we bring them on, and that's what I mean is they just step on the boat and everything is done.
And that's the thing too. It's like going to, when you say even with your grocery shopping or your, you know, like you don't have to think about a thing. I can see, and this is again like the ultimate experience maker like yourself. You've experienced transformation within you through travel. In Queensland, there's a whole program around transformational experiences that people are seeking more now when they travel. They want to come back because we're buzzed out. We want to escape, but learn something, contribute, do something. Tell me, like, I'm so curious, when you went on this quest, how did it change you?
Oh, my God.
And then I want you to think about how it changes your guests.
Yeah.
Because you're also seeing this out-of-body experience, seeing people come off this journey and how it changes them.
So that's interesting because when I first started, my premise was to get people to fall in love with Greece the way I know it. And everybody loves Greece. They love it at a certain level. I mean, they love Santorini, they love Mykonos, but I wanted them to have a more personal experience. Just like when I go to Italy with my friends and they take me by the hand and show me their places. I mean, yes, I can Google certain things, but this is beyond Googling these places. You cannot Google it. So that's what I thought I wanted. In the process, we would get inquiries like a family saying, hey, Maria, this is a very important week for us. My daughter, the oldest one, is graduating from uni. The oldest one's getting married. The second one's graduating. My son's just finished high school. It's probably going to be the last family trip. I want them all together. And I realised that I was in the business of family bonding. And that did not come about because we get on with our job, we get on with, making sure everyone's happy. And of course, there's always dynamics between people, and you're in a confined space of a yacht, so you want to make sure that everyone has the maximum experience personalised to themselves. And a crew are really good in understanding people's needs. So we would do that, and then they'll ask, is there anything that we can do as a group? Because, they might like cooking or something. We would incorporate those different needs. We'll do cooking classes or local cheese and wine tasting, or if they wanted a masseuse on the yacht, whatever it is. And at the end of it, I get them coming to me literally crying and hugging us and hugging the crew and saying, I feel connected to Greece. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't realise it was going to be this good. And I feel a greater connection to my family. And we all get emotional. It's almost impossible to comprehend that a sailing week or a week of this calibre can do that. And it does.
Oh, find myself, you hit a note there, because the time, it's fleeting.
Yeah.
And there is something about making that investment in how you maximize your time when we work so hard to enjoy these moments in the best possible environments that cater to that. And seeing Aidan behind the scenes in Turkey, we had the same. When you say like having that local knowledge and traveling with local people, because that is something, again, through the research, through sailing, that I've noticed, particularly in Greece, that there are a lot of foreign operators as well. I mean, it's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think that connection, and we talk about connection to country here in Australia a lot through our Indigenous First Nations peoples.
Yeah.
And I see this, and I guess I have that connection to those stories, and in the same way that I can hear you relating to that, having local people that can show you the Hellenic land and seas, there's a difference there too when you're seeking out these experiences. In the same way, I had my brother-in-law's auntie take us around Istanbul. There's no way we could have found and discovered those places on Google. And that's
100%.
That's the difference with the curated local experience.
And we do, so there's a lot, so Greek mythology is all over Turkey. And I've got one of my very dear friends is Turkish, and she said, I'm going to come with you because I want to learn about all this. But nothing that we do, and I'm going to say this there's no criticism, but there's nothing that we do is really cookie cutter or commercial. So when they ask for a cooking class, and each tour we've connected with a little yaya, a little grandmother who teaches with her daughters, or a local who's got a restaurant and on the side does a private cooking class, and she'll go in the garden, will collect the whatever's in season and make the dishes. It is as authentic as it could possibly be.
Oh, Maria, I went to my cousin's wedding in Greece.
Right.
And I was there saying, like, I would have paid money to have this experience, like to experience the way my aunties prepared in this 4-day tradition that we've lost here, unfortunately. It is something like, so just again, that just takes it to a whole other level and experience. What I'm curious now, I kind of know this, but now just really, I'm thinking if anyone's listening, what's the best time to have the best experience of this, best time of year? So for anyone that's looking at, inspired and looking at the year ahead in 2025, 6, 7, to make this investment and carve out the time, What's the best time of year to look at doing these sailing experiences?
Obviously, if you can get to book before December, because that's early booking and there's an early booking discount, and it depends on the yacht that they select. But anything that they can do, because the season is from May till October. But if you can book before December, that's fantastic. We do get last minute, so people say in June, I want to sail in the next couple of weeks. What do you have available? In those cases, it just makes the yachts I can't give them a full range, and sometimes we compromise, or we'll just have to work around what's available.
Yes.
But at this point in time, they have an advantage of having an early bird discount, plus there's a greater choice of the yachts available.
Incredible. This leads me to the next questions of partnerships and relationships. You're here in Melbourne.
Yes.
And you travel back and forth a lot, but how important that is to any tour operation. So for anyone, I'm just thinking now for anyone that might be thinking of starting their own business in their home country or or in our own backyard here. How, in terms of setting this up, because there's the dream, but then there's the operation of making this happen and having the trust that it can happen when we might not have the luxury of having Maria on board with us to have the same experience as if you were there with them, like you were with your friends. Tell me how important that is and how you took the approach you took to formulate that in your early days to now.
I have to say, and I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit naive as to what was really needed. All I had was this passion and this desire, and I wanted everyone to come on board. And I was going to somehow work out the details. And the details did work out. But what I've got is a business partner who's stationed in Greece, who her husband is 3-generation sailors. So she does all the screening and the training of the skippers, the hostess, where we have to go, what we have to do. When we curate a new tour or a client wants to look at new islands, then we actually will go out, test it all out, check out the locations. Are we happy? And then we will come back and say, okay, this is doable. This is practical. This is how long this takes. Because we don't want our guests to be on a boat sailing for long hours. A typical day is you get up in the morning, you have a big breakfast, we sail out no more than 2 to 3 hours to a secluded cove. They'll swim, there'll be sporting activities, whatever we've designed for the day for them, in consultation with them. The hostess will prepare meal on the boat. They'll come on, and it's always one of the most magnificent settings. And the guests say, day one, I don't want to move from here because I can't imagine there's anything better. And I'll say, trust me, it gets better. There's more to see. So, and then we come back, another 3 hours of sailing. We go to another destination. There'll be further swimming. Then eventually we'll make it to a more in a bay, in an island, which they'll have the evening to stroll and experience the island, go to a few bars or whatever it is that they want to experience. Sometimes they want to anchor out, and if the weather's good, out in bay. And it's usually in those archaeological sites that they've played games with. There's an amphitheatre on top of a hill overlooking the Aegean. They've just spent time dressing up, wearing the thing, and they've relived the elements of it. And because Greece is, in most parts, untouched, still in its natural beauty, you can imagine these stories. You can imagine gods playing games with one another, and you can feel it. So if the weather's great and you're out there at bay, all of a sudden, it's just another experience.
And I guess that's where your relationships with your suppliers really comes into
Yes.
light. That
Yes.
because we're dealing also with changing needs and fluctuations, that we've
absolutely.
always got backups
Yeah.
to deliver,
Yeah.
deliver the
and
best.
so we choose suppliers that can accommodate our needs. And even the ladies that if we're going to do cooking classes or go to visit a winery, we can adjust. Okay, we had the booking for the Tuesday. Now it's going to be Thursday. And they will work with us to make those changes.
Now, navigating with those relationships, navigating for anybody, and that's, I guess, the journey that we've been on. You've been working very much you've been curating this directly to consumers booking with you.
Yeah.
Now, the next phase of Magical Sunset is opening up to trade and building trade relationships. So for anyone listening, this is something that could be made available, and working with Maria to make you look really good in your offering with your clients. Tell me about just now in your business, in doing business in travel and as a travel experience and operator, a tourism operator in Greece. Tell me about what have been some of your greatest learnings. And I love that because many of I'm very emotively inspired to make, I let my intuition guide me, and sometimes the strategy and the thinking comes after. And I love that because sometimes you can cause analysis paralysis and talk yourself out of this. So I just want some of the learnings that you've had along the way in doing business in travel, because it's a little bit nuanced and different to other industries.
And doing it from here afar,
Yes.
even more so, and
Yes.
adding all those layers of complexity.
Yes.
What I didn't mention when you asked me about the relationships, I had met Thanya, my business partner.
Yes.
And we met through an introduction from my cousin who said she will help you identify good yachting companies because she's in that space. And I had no idea. And we met to chit chat about what I'm doing and who's a great company. And she said, why don't you let me run it for you from here? And that is how she became my business partner.
Yeah.
And she's been fantastic. The connections and everything. Someone so experienced who does this day in, day out to work with me now on Magical Sunset. So relationships are important. So over the years, we've established really good relationships, and we understand who talks the talk, who walks the talk. And she is that. And we know what supplies now we wouldn't change. We know who can deliver. And for the trade that you mentioned, what we found is a lot of companies saying is, can you do something for us? So we're now looking at, there's a number of companies, and we can do that, specifically, exclusively curate a tour for them, co-branded with their name, and it doesn't appear anywhere on our website, and it's not available to anyone else, just for them.
Excellent. And in terms of it traveling that journey, looking at Maria 4 or 5 years ago when you started, what
6
advice,
now.
6 now from the Oppa moment?
Yes.
Yeah. What advice would you give your startup self?
Someone?
Yeah.
My startup is don't panic, don't overthink it, trust your instinct, right? Yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but it'll be sorted out. It will. And people come along your way for a reason. So tap into that. Some things will work, some things don't. I say I kissed a lot of frogs to get to the point of making this work, but it does. It does. Now, are we ready for the next phase of the business? Absolutely, absolutely. But you need to go through those initial struggles to understand and refine, I guess, your product, your services, your understanding. But don't give up. Yeah, you can't.
That is definitely a theme to every experience maker that I sits across from me, of not giving up. That is just is a big one, I think, in any walk of life or in your career, in anyone's aspirations. And in talking of not giving up, the challenging times, can you think back? There's Opa, and then there's like the opposite of Opa.
Okay, we had Opa, and I had sailing tours almost the very next year, 2019. So 2018, I set it up.
Yep.
Got everyone going. 2019, we were out. We were out sailing, doing things. It was amazing. And then 2020 happened and nothing happened for like 3 years. I had one or two here and there. Nothing happened. And I used that time to really, our crew to go and do the tours, perfect it, learn more about, what guests really want, to improve on it, create other products. And then 23 was great, right? And 24 was not as great. And I don't know if it was because everybody traveled hard in 23, but there was that, it got momentum going again.
And I can see just even like with 24 not being that great coming out of, and I think across the globe, and particularly for a lot of local operators as well, it has been a challenging year. I also see in your ethos that of not giving up, you have gone out, and attracted different types of relationships and partnerships and hashtag don't give up.
Don't give up. I thought about it. There were times I think, this is getting hard.
Yeah.
But just when I say that, I get a knock on the door saying, hey, we like to hear about your product.
Yeah.
And so that's been great because most of my clients come from the US or UK. And I don't know whether it was intentional. We sort of found them. We found distributors who wanted to promote our product, and it seemed like they loved the element of mythology and culture that was incorporated in the whole activity. So, what's happened, and that was great for me. That was good.
Yes. And that's something, I guess, that has been an element of looking at when I first came across sailing experiences, and there's a lot of education that needs to happen. And I could see that just in my ballooning world, there needed to be a piece of like, ballooning is different. We don't take off from the same place. There's no marina. We're navigated by the wind of where we take off, where we land. And it would freak people out that like, we're just the weather gods, literally. So I recognize.
I actually have that in our T's and C's.
Yes.
We are determined by the weather gods.
The weather gods. Yeah, I would say that all the time. And that was just like, okay, we've got to get better at educating the customer that it is a sense of adventure. You are participating in a little bit of like, we don't know where this will land, and it's always fabulous. But when you are looking at that education piece and something with these beautiful private small tour experiences, is that if I just wanted to come alone and join a group, there's an opportunity to do that. But the best way to experience a magical sunset experience is in a small group environment. Like you said, you have 3 couples, or you bring your friends, or a corporate retreat. Because I also see, and I think that's what's inspires me about the mythology, and I want to manifest this. I see a leadership element in kind of like in the storytelling of going on the journey from yesteryear, because we talk resilience, that's on another level of
Yeah,
resilience,
sure is.
like to not give up a decade to return home when there's no sat nav. Like, can you just cast our brains around that? That was
it is
possible.
So Greek mythology has heroes. We love our heroes.
Yes.
But it's also true to life meaning.
Yes.
So we've had a number of CEOs come on tour with their families. Now they're looking into doing team building exercises where you relive elements of the hero, whether it's Hercules, whether it's Odysseus or Theseus, who fought the Minotaur. And there are so many things that you can do. For example, is one of the championship of Theseus, where he's preparing to fight the Minotaur. And whoever knows the story, he kills the Minotaur, but that's not where the story ends. And of course, he has to change the color of his sails. So he leaves Athens with black sails, and his father, King Aegeus, is waiting for him on top of Cape Sunio, waiting. And if he returns with black sails, it means his son is dead. But if it's white sails, it's victory. So I won't, even though you can read the story, I won't give it away. We play on those elements. And so we have this competition where they change the sails from black to white. There's, the battleground. And I think, even though we haven't done it in a very large group as yet, just seeing the clients that do it amongst the family, it's a lot of fun. It brings out the warrior, the competitive nature, the one that wants to be the hero. You're set. You're actually in the whole ambience of where all these things happen, with the Aegean Sea, the archaeological amphitheatre, dressed in things. If nothing else, it's great for Instagram photos. It really does. So that's what we do.
Incredible. Now, you said to me, how are we going to feel an hour? We're almost at the hour.
Really.
And I said, don't you, you have no idea, everybody that's listening or watching, how much I can listen to Maria, whether we're on a video call or on the phone. I'm like, I wish this is recorded. How many times have I said that to you?
Yes,
I wish I could record you saying this. And anyway, it brings me so much joy. But I do like to finish with my guests on a bit of an excellence round. So I'm just going to start firing off into if there was anything that was holding you back, what was it initially after thinking and being told by this colleague or friend of yours and the support of your beautiful husband that said, just what are you waiting for? Yeah. What was holding you back?
I think it was me.
Yeah.
Obviously not knowing what I didn't know and how was I going to make this work, and was it going to be special enough for my clients? What could I possibly, I knew that I was a great host and I wanted always my guests to be, and even from, the breakfast meal, everything needed to be very heartfelt. And I didn't know that I could deliver it from afar. And when the pieces came together and I could experience it, and people going on and crying and saying it was amazing, and they've become real friends because they're also repeat clients, it gives you the confidence to keep going. This is worth it. This is really what it's all about.
Your validation, the validated, the thought, the heart.
Yeah. And, and I'm not a person that seeks validation from anything, but this is different. You're like, did you enjoy it? Did you feel at home? Did you feel special? And was it special? And they just walk away saying, It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
And that's where feedback matters in our line of work. Whether, and I know for the same people say, how did the training go? And it's only as good as the feedback from anybody that's experiencing what you deliver. So I think that's really important to always seek it like you do. And it helps you keep going and keep tweaking what we need to keep making it better. I'm so curious, the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, my goodness. I've received lots of good advice. Keep going. Don't give up. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Trust your instinct. And someone had said to me, how dare you not share this with the world and keep it to yourself? You have to share it with the world.
Love that. And I thought that when you were talking about the Odysseus, and it's like, imagine going then and not knowing this. If you don't go on a specialised, you just kind of land there doing your own thing and you miss out on this. Love. So in terms of your day-to-day, you're busy doing many different things. What is a reliable resource for you, whether it's AI, an app, any, a gadget? Like, what's something that you can't live without that helps you manage your day-to-day?
Thanya, my business partner.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but ChatGPT has just made
you are totally allowed. Yes.
I mean, I will type away how I feel and then just ask it to refine it.
Yeah.
And in my tone, and after doing it for a while, it knows Magical Sunset's tone. It knows its product. Sometimes I forget to mention certain things. It would answer it for me. I go, oh, my God, you're so good. You remembered, and I didn't. So, I couldn't live without that.
That's such a valid point, and I'm glad you mentioned that because, the term that I've come to realise is called prompt engineering. You've prompted it well enough that it's gotten to know your business, and especially, like how many of you are listening or watching? Like we're small businesses at the end of the day, and using tools like this help enhance and make the online experience better and your day more efficient.
Extremely more efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, I even say, can you please and thank you? And my husband said, you're using please and thank you on ChatGPT? And I said, yes, because it knows my politeness and it's going to respond to my character.
Yes.
So you actually have to speak or write it in the way you are, as if you are speaking to a real person.
Oh, excellent. Excellent, Maria. Personal habit, I think you've shared a lot, but what's a personal habit that contributes to your success?
I do go training. I feel to be mentally astute, you need to be physically strong. So my cardio isn't the best, but I feel physically strong. That's when I'm my best.
So that's something you are intentionally in your strength training to get you.
Yes. Not a lot. 3 times a week, nothing big, and not half an hour.
Okay.
But it gives me strength.
Love. It's very important. I mean, I feel the same. When I started my business 10 years ago, I need to get physically fit for this, like an athlete, to be able to endure what's ahead, because it's long hours and it's
very long hours.
I love that you've shared that, Maria.
There is one more.
Yeah, go.
The other part is I was always spiritual. I've always been spiritual. But I've come closer to God. And when there are moments that I have confusion or there isn't the clarity, I actually do speak to God. It's not a prayer, just having my conversations, and I can really say, I love God. Now, you can say you love the universe, you can say whatever, but personifying God makes it, for me, a stronger connection. Yeah.
Your faith.
And you have to have blind faith.
Any book or movie, you've recommended one movie that we should look out for. Any book that's been transformative for you on this journey to recommend to us?
Yes, The Law of Attraction. And it is really the energy that you put out. There are many autobiographies that I have read, even Andre Agassi, even Michelle Obama, so many that, and you have to imagine yourself in their league. You have to imagine the challenges that those people have. And it gives you a perspective to think, okay, I can do this little one. I've just got to put another spreadsheet out, and it's not as bad as what Michelle Obama has to face. And, you know, but you need to find inspiration so you can be inspirational.
Oh, and on that note, you've inspired many by taking the time out today. Maria, I hope this is the very beginning of your own Maria Tsalkos biography. I really I'm very grateful for our connection, and I hope, I hope many of you are just as inspired as I am. Magicalsunset.com. Thank you. Is there any parting words
Desi,
before we close?
No, you've been wonderful, and you're my little angel.
Oh, bless you, Maria. And you've got the most songs ever. My sister's Maria, there's no Despina songs. I think there's one, like Despina, Despinaki, like it's Spanish, Greek, Italian. Maria is the name that we are inspired by today. Thank you. All the best. Here's to 2025 and beyond. Mariamu, thank you.
Thank you.